today we are going to continue with experiment 1.1 on your textbook page 14. If we look at the situation here, the two swings are swinging at different speeds. This is probably due to the length of the chains of the swings. So we are going to carry out a scientific investigation using a simple pendulum to find out. From previous situation, we can make an inference. The inference that we can do here is the period of oscillation of a simple pendulum depends on its length. One thing that you need to remember when you want to write down inference, remember that you need to write down in this method where your responding variable depends on your manipulated variable. So we write the period of oscillation of a simple pendulum depends on its length. You can also write down the period of oscillation is affected by the length of the simple pendulum. The period of oscillation of the simple pendulum is affected by the length of the pendulum. The hypothesis that we can write down for this experiment would be the longer the length of the pendulum, the longer the period of oscillation. Alright, if you look at the difference between inference and hypothesis, inference is very general. It only tells you which one affects which one, but it doesn't explain to you how it affects it. But as for hypothesis, it says the longer the length of the pendulum, the longer the period of oscillation. Now we're going to look at the aim of the experiment. Why do we carry out the experiment? The aim of this experiment is to investigate the relationship between the length of the pendulum and also the period of oscillation. From this experiment, your manipulated variable would be length of pendulum, your responding variable would be period of oscillation, and your constant variable would be mass of pendulum. Now let's look at this slide here. The apparatus that you will need is a retort stand, protractor, pendulum bob, stopwatch, meter rule, and G-clamp. The materials that you are going to use is 100 centimeter thread and 2 small pieces of plywood. So this is the setup apparatus. Now we're going to look at the procedure. The procedure for the experiment, I want you to please refer to your textbook. Right, so now we're going to watch the next video to see how we are going to carry out the experiment. Alright, so we are going to start with our experiment 1.1, which you can find on textbook page 14. The aim of today's experiment is to investigate the relationship between the length of our simple pendulum and also the period of oscillation of the simple pendulum. So what we're going to do is we are going to use different length of simple pendulum to control the manipulated variable. And for each different length of simple pendulum, we are going to record the time taken for the pendulum to complete 20 oscillation. Alright, so we're going to start now. You need your stopwatch with you, and then we're going to release it. Now remember, when you release your pendulum, it has to be released naturally alright, without applying any extra force to the pendulum. Because if you look here, right, let's say if I release it like that, meaning I have given it a little push, alright, we don't want that. You want to release it naturally. Let it hang loose naturally first, okay? Then we're going to swing it, not to swing, but to take it a bit higher at a very small angle. Then we're going to release it, okay? At a very small angle. Now, we want to keep the angle as small as possible, okay? According to the textbook, you need to do the experiment where your theta has to be less than 10 degree, which is about that, right? Kalau you tarik terlalu jauh, where the theta is too big, of course it's going to travel further, and when it travel further, of course it's going to experience more air resistance. So kita tak nak, we want to reduce that as much as possible, okay? Meaning to say, this experiment will be good if it is conducted in vacuum, but we won't be, of course that is not possible at the moment. Okay, so now we're going to release it at a very small angle. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Right. I'm going to use this to help me. 1, 2, 3. 3. 17, 18, 19, 20, right? So that is the time taken for the pendulum to complete 20 oscillation with a length of 20 centimeter. So what we're going to do now is to repeat the exact same step with the exact same length, all right, just to get the average to make sure that the time is accurate, okay? So I'm going to record my time. 1969. Sorry, 1950. Okay, we're going to repeat that. Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. That's okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so that is the reading for second measurement, and now we're going to take the average for the time. Okay, then we're going to repeat the experiment with different length, with 30, 40, 50, 60 and 70, alright?